Lin stood off to the side with his arms crossed, watching the scene unfold. He tells the angel baddie to give up. After all, this was real divine-level poison, and a hoax like her didn't stand a chance at purifying it. Watching the angel writhe in pain, her veins bulged as she gritted her teeth, but she still managed to call our boy an evil fiend. Then, with a flash of light, she summoned a judgment sword and swung it again and again through the poisonous mist. The weapon hit harder than expected. Before Lin's life link could even trigger, 50 skellies were wiped out. But so what? Lin could just summon more. His mana pool was more than enough to keep the army coming. New skeletons rose one after another, while the Lich General raised his staff, casting another wave of poison aura. A sickly green haze spread outward as the skellies charged toward the angel. Watching them closing in, real fear flickered in her eyes. She cursed at the poisonous mist, feeling her divine strength slipping away bit by bit. Meanwhile, Lin realized the poison would take quite a bit of time to finish her off, but he still needed to be cautious. Better to stay back until it was certain. By now, the poison had already spread across 5 kilometers. Even Lin was a little stunned that just a drop of the poison god's blood could be this powerful. Time dragged on, and the mighty soldier buff was about to go on cooldown. Meanwhile, the green mist swallowed everything, and the angel was nowhere to be seen. Then, with green liquid pouring out of her eyes, we see her slowly dissolve into the mist. Lin thought he heard her voice one last time, calling him evil fiend again. A moment later, the system notification popped up notifying him that angelic Saint Spirit had been defeated, granting him a juicy 90 million experience. As the scene shifts, somewhere far away in a grand cathedral, the sky dimmed. Panic spread as priests and believers gathered around a massive angel statue in the center hall. A blinding green light descended from above, striking the statue. Cracks spread across its glowing body before it suddenly shattered into pieces. Everyone began to panic, and neither of them had any idea what had just happened, with people screaming and rushing to alert the archbishop. Back to Lin again, things were much calmer. He had the skellies back to the summoning space and finally let out a sigh of relief because there were no more pests in his way. The storm still raged above, thunder rolling endlessly, but for Lin, it was time to move on. 2 hours later, land finally appeared on the horizon. He guessed it must be the Wind and Thunder continent. Landing on a cliff near the coast, lightning still flashed across the sky. Lin unrolled his map scroll, noting his position, just a few hours from the Thunder Burial Canyon. He had no idea what awaited him there, but he was ready for whatever came next. The scene shifted to the abyss. Inside a dark palace, Mina knelt before the succubus queen, reporting that Lin had indeed appeared in the lower levels. The news caught her by surprise. She notes that Lin was only level 52. How could he possibly reach that place? The only possible explanation, she noted, had to be that a very ancient dragon who had survived since the dawn of time was sending him there, and maybe wanted Lin to do something for him. Thinking all this, a knowing smile tugged at her lips. If that were true, things could get complicated. Still, Lin's arrival in the lower level was the perfect opportunity. Mina, trembling slightly, hesitated before asking if they were truly going after Lin. The succubus queen chuckled, then denied it, saying, "Of course not." Instead, she asked whether the mark Mina had placed on Lin was still active, to which Mina replied, "Yes." She then instructed Mina to go and tell the Dark Sky Demon Lord that Lin is alone in the lower level. He knows Lin killed his child, and she's certain he won't let that slide. She licked her lips, eyes gleaming with mischief. She remarked that orders from the Demon Emperor were absolute, but that doesn't mean she can't send fools to do the dirty work for her. Meanwhile, Lin pressed onward. Every tree he passed was bare and scorched, lightning striking again and again across the horizon. Then ahead, a bunch of black dots appeared in the sky. As he took a closer look, he noticed it was actually a fleet, and not just any fleet, but one belonging to the dragons. The ships suddenly stopped and turned toward him, cannons blazing. Clearly, they were targeting him all along. Lin reacted instantly, wings unfolding as he darted aside from the barrage. At the same time, he wondered why the dragons were stationed here. Moments later, several dragon warriors flew off the ships. However, Lin noticed how their movements were stiff and quite unnatural. Their eyes were empty, devoid of life, as if they were nothing but puppets. Lin's gut twisted, noting that these perhaps weren't real dragon war generals. He remembered facing level 70 dragons before, but they were nothing like this. A quick detection spell confirmed they were indeed level 70 dragon war generals, but something just felt off. Either way, the dragon charged, clashing headfirst into the skeletal berserkers. Standing back, Lin watched carefully, trying to piece it together. Could the dragon have developed a new breakthrough to mass-produce high-level puppets? If that were true, and if even level 70 warriors could now be manufactured, humanity might be in serious trouble. Anyway, first things first, take out the annoying bunch. The little skellies wasted no time and quickly took down a few enemies. Meanwhile, Lin fired off a corpse explosion spell, followed by a massive explosion, and just like that, a whole group of dragons was blasted to bits. Even their warship got torn apart like paper. The rest of the dragons on nearby ships started panicking. They scrambled to turn around and flee. They were fast, too fast for Lin to go after, at least not right now. So he let them go, made a mental note of the direction they ran off to, and decided to focus on grabbing the item Antares needed first. He figured he'd deal with the rest later, and hopefully figure out what was really going on. In the next scene, a portal opened. Mina stepped out first and pointed off in the distance, saying Lin was over there. Behind her, a squad of elite demons slowly emerged. One of them couldn't help but mutter that their lord was being way too cautious, asking why send them to handle a mere level 52 human. Mina just sighed to herself. These idiots had no idea who they were dealing with. Before the group could get too far, the captain of this mission, Kulai, asked how close they were. Mina checked the map and said Lin's destination was probably Thunder Burial Canyon. If that was right, they'd be able to intercept him before he got there. She even tossed Kulai a flirty look and teased that she'd be waiting for good news, though part of her wondered if this might be their last time meeting. Of course, Kulai had no idea what she was thinking, but his eyes lit up with excitement nonetheless. Back on Lin's side, the journey felt strangely quiet. He hadn't come across a single monster, and he wondered if that dragon squad he had encountered before had already cleared the path. He was still wondering about it when he suddenly noticed a familiar scent. He looked up, and sure enough, Mina was waving at him. Yeah, a little unexpected, but Lin just smirked. He figured she must be back for another round of beating. Mina, however, didn't respond. She gave a respectful bow and claimed she had a message from her queen. Apparently, the queen herself was impressed with Lin and offered him a spot as one of her dependents. That would come with plenty of perks, like full access to his personal army of succubus, which Mina winked and emphasized that she included as well. But Lin wasn't buying it. As a human, just seeing demons like them made his skin crawl. Hearing this, Mina's face turned cold. She sneered and gave the signal. Suddenly, several demons materialized around them. Kulai rolled his eyes and grumbled about why they were even talking to the guy. He was just a level 52 human, nothing he couldn't chop down in seconds. Mina cheered him on from the sidelines, which only hyped him up even more. Just to be safe, Mina also crushed a special sealing stone. It created a magic array designed specifically to counter summoning magic. She then explains that unless a divine-level summoner is here, no one else is going to summon anything inside. She figured that would lock things down nicely, convinced that without his summons, Lin would be done for. However, he just glanced around the barrier, noting that he was way past his old self. Before anyone could blink, Kulai was already in front of him, stabbing straight at his chest. Lin's skeletal armor cracked from the force. He had to admit, this guy is indeed impressive, sort of equivalent to a boss in the lower level. Looked like the Abyss was dead serious about taking him out. Without hesitating, Lin cast Skeletal Prison. The dragons charged at him were suddenly halted. Sure, the dragon could just cleanse the curse, but they didn't get a chance to use them, because one of the skeletal berserkers had already raised its giant axe and brought it crashing down. A chill wind swept through the battlefield, and when Mina looked up, she froze. From every direction, skeletons were closing in. Her eyes widened in disbelief, murmuring, "This shouldn't be happening. She says how the sealing stone was supposed to block all summoning, but why could Lin just ignore it?" Then a terrifying thought crept in. Could he have reached divine-level power already? That couldn't be right. Her mind flashed back to the first time they met. Back then, Lin was nothing but a weak little insect. Honestly, if that portal hadn't sucked her away, she could have crushed him on the spot. It hasn't even been that long, and he's already become so powerful. She took a slow step back with her fists clenched, trying to stay calm. 30 seconds, she told herself. If Kulai couldn't finish him in 30 seconds, she needed to get the hell out of here. Right then, Kulai let out a furious roar. A flash of light burst from his body as he cleansed the curse. He smashed aside a charging skeleton, then raised his spear and rushed straight at Lin once more.